Hey, Canada! Canada is in the house. Well, actually, you're here in my house. My name is Kevin Piesker, President of Microsoft Canada. Welcome, everyone, to Canadian Connection at Ignite. We certainly hope you're enjoying the session so far, and like many of you, I wish we were connecting in person, but I certainly appreciate you being with us here today virtually. I have three exceptional colleagues joining me in this live session. And please feel free to post your questions as we look forward to engaging with you as we go through. So let's face it, 2020, wow, the year we clearly will not soon forget. COVID-19 has changed all of our personal lives as well as our work lives. And on the plus side, it means we get to spend a lot more time at home with family and pets. On the downside, it means we get to spend a lot more time at home with family and pets. And while we've been impacted by the pandemic, it's been truly incredible to see the impact of technology on organizations of all sizes and across all industries. In fact, and you've probably heard this already today, maybe in Satya's keynote, as Satya noted, we've seen unprecedented change, literally 2 years of transformation in 2 months. In a recent survey of Canadian CEOs, 92% have fast-tracked their transformation to meet COVID-19 challenges. That's right here at home in Canada. And while I wish we could simply write some code to resolve what's going on around us and post it right there to GitHub, the reality is that this new reality is far from over. There are many words to describe our collective experience as Canadians. One which resonates with me is resilience. As we work with our customers across this incredible country of ours, from healthcare to government, retail and financial services to energy, construction, manufacturing, and more, the resilience of Canadians has been truly remarkable. A lot has transpired, of course, over the last 7 months. We've worked with countless customers as they rapidly adapted, and one thing is consistent. Those who've already moved to the cloud or started on their digital journey were more likely to not only survive, but to thrive. And a great example of this is CBI Health, one of our country's largest community healthcare providers. CBI, like many healthcare providers, were forced to quickly shift to a primarily virtual care telehealth model for remote assessment and treatment, not only to protect the health and safety of their staff and their clients, but also to ensure their clients receive the care they need in the safety of their homes. CBI quickly pivoted and moved 3,000 of their highly skilled clinicians and administrators to Teams in a highly secure way. In just 8 days, video, chat, documentation, co-collaboration, meetings, remote patient engagement was all enabled. This is truly a monumental feat, and they're now averaging approximately 100,000 virtual sessions per month, an incredible accomplishment. The potential to expand reach and access to clients in underserved areas is tremendous. Think of the spread of our country and the benefit that will have. Technology empowering every healthcare provider to achieve more. That's what technology is all about. And in addition to health, when it comes to basic human needs, well, we all need to eat, don't we? Food's a passion as well as a necessity. The teams at Good Food, who was actually recognized last week in the Globe, if you happen to catch that in the financial papers, is a top performing stock in Canada over the past 3 years. They're another outstanding example of technology in action. During the initial stages of the COVID pandemic, millions of Canadians resorted to online grocers and prepared meal kits in order to avoid physically going to grocery stores. This created a significant increase in demand for Good Food and put pressure on their operations and logistics. By leveraging the cloud, by leveraging Dynamics 365 business applications, Good Food was able to meet their supply chain needs and ultimately get meal kits in the hands and food in the tummy of Canadians securely and at scale. And hey, this is Ignite. I know that those of us in the industry who are passionate about the industry overtly or secretly love to get our geek on. I've been in this industry for 30 years, and who doesn't desire a CPU, GPU, holographic processing unit, HPU powered carbon fiber laser enabled holographic device? Yes, I did put carbon fiber and laser in the same sentence. A device designed for instinctual interaction with little mirrors the size of a grain of rice that vibrate 12,000 times per second, and lasers that fire with nanometer precision. I get chills of excitement with the tech, but I'm inspired even more by what professionals are doing with it. From remote service in energy and other industries to keeping critical infrastructure operational, and as Dr. Rudisky, Chief of Cardiology, eloquently states, HoloLens is invaluable in a fight like this. And it's that merging of human ingenuity and the power of technology which has enabled those organizations and hundreds of thousands more to quickly and safely adapt to the changes around us. Humanity truly leveraging the power of Azure, the world's computer. And as part of our commitment right here in Canada to delivering enterprise-grade cloud infrastructure to support our digital economy, my entire team and I are thrilled to launch Azure Availability Zones in our Canada Central region and to add additional capabilities in our Canada East region effective immediately. These investments in Canada will bring an even wider set of capabilities for our customers to create resilient and incredibly scalable compute capability that provides highly available applications with in-country geographic redundancy. That is the basis for mission-critical workloads. The experience base of our partner community and Microsoft Canadian specialists in Azure is deep. We've worked with and are working with our customers to harness the incredible potential of Azure as a service, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, driving intelligent data-driven experiences and creating business resiliency solutions. We designed availability zones with feedback and input from some amazing Canadian organizations along the way, and already the impact has been remarkable. Just here in Canada, Azure is the incredible cloud of choice across a number of industries, in particular financial services, who has moved faster than others to modernize so that they can serve their customers with deep excellence and insight. One of Canada's leading financial institutions is using Azure Availability Zones already as an important part of their technology platform, helping run mission-critical workloads so that their employees can serve customers with confidence, to enable them to deliver resilience and scalability at a time when agility has never been more important. And realizing enormous benefits from innovation in the cloud with Microsoft in just a few months. That's what we're doing across this country. And it isn't only about the exciting announcements of Azure, there's a lot more. Earlier today, across the company, we announced new Microsoft 365 capabilities focused on making meetings better, providing deeper analytics, and ensuring that each member of Canada society has the tools they need to be resilient and thrive in this new world of work. In a few moments, great colleague mine, Jason Bromett, leader of our modern workplace, will share more. But let's be very mindful that it's likely more than ever in these times of challenge that bad actors have stepped up. They've increased activity to take advantage of those not properly digitally prepared or defended. The Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity has observed online threats that are higher now than they've ever been before. And as companies shift to hybrid work, the need to onboard users remotely, the reality of growing security threats means that IT and security professionals are at the heart of being heroes within their organization. And today we announced updates in this area for both Azure and Microsoft 365, Kevin McGee, our technical specialist, as we call him, the guru of security, will be joining us shortly to talk about the technology and tools to help safeguard your organization. But with this overall incredible pace of change and the need for each of us to be agile, knowing that technology is more important than ever before, ensuring that all Canadians, that's every Canadian, has the skills they need to be successful is critical. We continue to make very intentional investments in three core areas. Students, ensuring future generations have the skills they need to be successful. With you, employers, employees, providing upskilling opportunities so your career can meet new heights. And job seekers. The reality is that regardless of your role or industry, digital skills is a must. And in a few minutes, Emma Da Silva, our incredible leader of marketing and operations, is going to do a deeper dive into the importance of skilling and the substantial investments that we've made as a company right here in Canada and the resources we've made available to all of you. I encourage each of you, if you haven't already taken advantage, do take advantage. Skilling is critical for our country. We have an absolutely packed agenda, so I'll finish by assuring you that my team and I are here. We're here to build with you, to create with you, to learn with you, and support you. We're aligned with you to empower every Canadian and every Canadian organization to achieve more, but not merely make it through this pandemic, but to emerge stronger, to emerge better, to be competitive on the global stage. I'll next move it to our incredible business group leader for Modern Workplace, Mr. Jason Bromett. We're going to be in your house.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Awesome to be here today, everybody. I always hate following you because I feel like there's a level of energy that's hard to compete with, but we'll give it our best shot. So,
all right,
hey,
buddy.
Team Canada, great to be here, be part of Ignite today. Obviously, we would all love to be with every one of us together and in person. But I thought I'd share a little bit today and just maybe set some context on sort of this remote and hybrid productivity. Hopefully, some of you had a chance to join the presentation that Jared Spatero gave in the Future of Work this morning, which is we've really moved to this new world of remote everything. And whether you think about it in the context of education, to what Kevin talked about, to healthcare, we've really seen every industry in every shape and form really have to adapt to a new normal and frankly, a new way of working. And when we look forward and think about what that looks like, Kevin talked about this already on his earlier slide, which is this notion of 2 years worth of digital transformation in 2 months. And when we think about that, Kevin touched on some of these examples from remote learning to remote teamwork, obviously telehealth and virtual visits and sharing some of the amazing work that our customer CBI Health has done. But it's also thinking about new scenarios like contactless shopping and curbside pickup. But it's also about critical technical scenarios like remote development. And in many ways, we think about this as meetings, and meetings is just an amazing way, and frankly, a ubiquitous term that can enable each one of these scenarios. But when we look forward and think about the business challenges, but certainly the IT challenges, the list could go on, and we could talk about this probably for hours. Obviously, new digital business models, the idea of curbside pickup and contactless shopping, in many ways, lots of organizations weren't thinking about it, or certainly weren't thinking about it as early as they needed to today. But it's also about being able to work with different constraints. We've certainly been through it as Microsoft. I've been through it with my team, which is people are adapting to work in different ways because they need to do different things. They have different demands on their time. And so the ability to balance both the personal and the professional demands on each of us have changed dramatically. There's obviously things like physical office closures that have driven this need for immediate remote work type solutions. But it's also about well-being. And if you had a chance to tune into Jared's talk this morning, this idea of well-being is a super important one with some of the announcements that we made this morning on app integrations to bring things like meditation into the experience. But it's also this idea of agility, whether you think about that in the context of rapidly adapting business processes to enabling new ways to collect information. And really, in many ways, in a world where we're no longer face-to-face with one another, the ability to collect information in some of the same ways just simply isn't a reality anymore. But it's also having to adapt and reflect on economic pressures, which is how do we do more with less? I thought it was many years ago that we had talked about that and could kind of move on, but that's really come back to the foreground. And again, when we look at the world in which we're living, and certainly here inside Canada. And so as we move and transition off of what I'll call the business challenges or IT challenges, there's this really important piece that I want to ground on. And I often have the chance to do this in the role that I'm in, which is follow some of our technical leaders, in this case, leading up to Kevin, who will follow me shortly, which is the people side of this. At the end of the day, what we're wrestling with and many of us are having to adapt to is a human challenge, both the professional side, but the personal side. And the idea of this is really the foundation is we are in a new world where the workplace is hybrid and frankly will remain hybrid for some period of time to go. And here you can see a couple of just data points of view from some of our work trend index research that we've done. We've actually just released the latest version of that this morning. But it really centers on sort of these three areas of innovation when we think about our platform. This first is this idea of inclusivity. In many ways, you can think about this as accessibility as much as it is diversity, which is different people need to and will work in different ways. How do we create amazing experiences for everybody, no matter their work style? The second is this notion of interactivity. And the third is this idea of intelligence. And so when we look at the inclusivity side of this, this is really about creating environments where everybody can bring and be their very best. Whether it's integrating capabilities like translation directly into chat, recognizing today Canada is very much a multilingual country, and we have many individuals that speak multiple languages, where in some cases English may not be their first language. You can do that inline translation directly inside the Teams experience. It's also about the visualization of the experience. And sure, we took a bit of feedback, which was, hey, we weren't moving fast enough in the number of tiles that you could see. Frankly, I'm yet to see anybody using 49 sort of tiles in a really immersive way and being able to process it. But it is creating these sort of immersive experiences where you can go from sort of gallery mode to sort of this large gallery mode to bring more people together. But it's also about capabilities like live captionings and subtitles. And in many ways, you can think about this as creating sort of accessibility for few, but in creating an environment that creates usability for many. And again, when you think about, I'll say accessibility as a notion, you can think about accessibility as permanent or temporary. And in many ways, we may not be able to hear the audio in any one presentation. And so things like captioning become super, super important as a way for us to participate in those meetings. So moving off of inclusivity to this notion of interactivity. And this is really this idea that says the meeting experience, or this horizontal terminology that we think about as meetings, which has really become sort of this ubiquitous, I'll call it technology set, that really enables all those solutions. So contactless shopping, trading with business partners, it's got to be immersive, and it can't just be about the meeting. We can all relate, whether it's our schoolwork for our kids, or whether it's trading or interacting with our business partners in trading invoices or spec sheets. There is content that lives both before the meeting and extends and continues well beyond the meeting. And so this notion of being able to manage the life cycle is super important, and being able to do that in a single experience, so you avoid this sort of context shifting that many users, and we can all relate to this, really don't enjoy, which is having to toggle from app to app. And so this idea of being able to have this sort of interactive experience, not only in the content, but also the way in which we interact with each other. And part of it is, if you've seen some of the research, we've included this in our Work Trends Index, people are getting tired of meetings. We can probably all relate, which is our days are getting longer. We're spending more time in a video experience. And that really what drove the Together mode that we announced quite some time ago. Today, this morning, we announced updates to new scenes inside Together mode. And so it's not just an auditorium. You can scale down to be in sort of like the coffee shop. And so anybody that's a Friends fan out there, we can get your sort of your neighborhood perk going. But it's this idea of continuing to create sort of these rich immersive experiences. But it's also creating sort of these rich immersive experiences that enable teams to come together and ideate. And so capabilities like Microsoft Whiteboard built directly into the Teams experience, exposed on a range of devices, becomes super compelling. And then the last one that I just wanted to touch on, which is this idea of intelligence. which is how in many ways do we enable the technology to be smarter than we, and at the same time is harness the data that is in the Microsoft graph, as Jared talked about this morning, which is really sort of understanding, I'll call it this demand supply set of signals inside all of the users that we have to say, how do we make our technology smarter and create, again, great experiences that in many ways deliver on both the inclusive attributes, but also the interactive. And so the idea of doing recordings and having that automatically ported over into Microsoft Stream with live transcriptions, now with speaker attribution. And so you have a much richer experience in understanding who said what, so that you can go back if there was a question posed or your name framed, but you may not have been attending the meeting. You can find out who it was that asked that question of you and be able to go find that very quickly and easily. But it's also sort of these rich experiences. The whiteboard one in the top right on the screen is one that we can all associate to, which is, hey, especially in a world of hybrid work where you will have some people physically located in a room, but many more located remotely, how do you still take the best of that whiteboard experience, if not using a digital whiteboard, but not have that person or that body physically obstructing your view? And then you can look at things like background blurs, and we've all had lots of fun with this, from snap cameras to the backgrounds that we have natively inside Teams to those that are being produced by third-party publishers. But it's ways, in many ways, while yes, fun, it also solves for cognitive challenges that many of us may be feeling as we participate in the wide set of meetings or meeting-like experiences that we have. And then lastly is this notion of engaging all employees and this notion of being able to scale up and scale down. And again, meetings is a pretty horizontal generic term that can now be contextualized into virtual visits, virtual care. It can be financial planning and investments, but it can also be all hands as a great way for organizations to bring their people together, again, in this time of need where really the human attribute still remains our most important asset and really may be the driver that determines our success or failure as we move from, I'll say, the response through sort of resiliency, as Kevin had talked about. And so moving from there, it's not just about, I'll say, the software side of it. It's about ensuring that we've got great experiences that really enable us to reimagine these workspaces while at the same time also not creating added complexity. And so the work that we've done in Autopilot to enable zero-touch deployments. And so in a world where you have new employees onboarding remotely, you can functionally drop ship the PC directly to those users. But it's also Windows Virtual Desktop. And so the ability to do that remote desktop environment to be able to access line of business systems, super important. But it's also this range of devices from the Surface Hub. We talked this morning on the 2S 85-inch now being available down to the smallest devices and frankly, everything in between, which is this hybrid workspace is going to require a continuum of devices and platforms that enable people to connect with one another to do their very best. And so moving off of that very quickly, which is this idea of moving beyond meetings to saying, hey, how do we actually put this into context? And one of the ones that I wanted to ensure I touched on today, given it is Ignite, is this notion of remote development. And again, developers and app innovation is just such an awesome area where we're seeing many customers investing today in a world where we continue to adapt to this new reality in which we're working. And so there's really sort of three challenges and three ways that we think about it. This notion of how we enable developers, how we enable the teams, and then how we ultimately deliver to customers internally or externally. And so first, this idea of coding from anywhere and Visual Studio Codespaces as a great platform to enable sort of cloud-powered, secure access for your developers to go create applications. The second is the collaborate from anywhere. I love that Kevin's wearing his GitHub sweater today, but being able to use the GitHub platform for the development, but being able to partner and pair that with teams to be able to create sort of these immersive collaborative experiences as you jointly code and bring applications to market. And then obviously I'll say the world's computer with Microsoft Azure, the ability to ship it, frankly, anywhere. And so quickly as I wrap up, two things I wanted to leave you with, which is one, this idea of how do we create meeting experiences that everybody knows and everybody loves, but it enables all of those experiences that we talked about, not just the human connection, but those business scenarios. Two really exciting offers. One we announced this morning, one was announced last week. For customers today that are enterprise agreement customers, we will give you audio conferencing free for the term of your agreement. You can use the URL here to find more details. And then the second that we announced this morning was being able to stand up to Microsoft team rooms at no charge for you as a customer. And so again, I'd encourage you to check out the URL here. And very lastly, as I set up to hand over to Kevin to talk about the secure attribute, here's a couple of resources, which is to Kevin Piesker's earlier comments on enabling skills. We want to ensure that you and your employees have the resources and the tools to be able to enable them to be their very best. And so whether it's our instructor-led, virtual-led technical workshops, to our end user training to enable adoption for your employees, to our fast track services that can quickly help you get up and operational, to our remote development if you're more focused on app creation. And so again, a great set of resources to enable you to take advantage of this new hybrid workplace that we're all living in. And with that, I want to introduce Kevin McGee, our Chief Security and Compliance Officer. Kevin, over to you.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, I'm Kevin McGee, and I'm the Chief Security and Compliance Officer for Microsoft Canada, not to be confused with the other Kevin who's been on a little earlier. My number one question I get today in my role is, when will we return to the new normal? Well, as a security professional, I can tell you there's never been a normal. In fact, really, the world is just learning now that and catching up to what us security professionals have known all along. So we won't be returning to the new normal, but I think we'll be evolving. We'll be really changing how we live and work and whatnot. And we're going to have to change how we secure things in the future. And that's really great. It's an excellent opportunity for us in security. And I want to share just some thoughts that I've come across and really been focusing on as part of the pandemic. So the first thing is security is the foundational for digital empathy. Speed is changing so fast right now. In fact, speed of change is becoming a threat vector that we need to think about. I call it advanced persistent transformation. So don't run out and register that URL. I should really get on trademarking that. But what is empathy and why does it matter with change? Well, it's important more than ever now because we need to not only understand what the needs of our security professionals are for training and making sure we don't burn them out, but also understand what the users are going through and how they're struggling to adapt to the new business environment, because that will be the key to making sure our security programs and protocols are successful. Engaging the user and making it easier for them to do their work. It's an opportunity we can't miss. The second thing is everyone is going on a zero trust transformation. That's not just a broad statement for corporations or big organizations. Every single one of us individuals is going through a zero trust transformation right now and a journey, because we've known as users for years that the perimeter-based security, logging in with an old IPsec, when you're traveling from a hotel, it just doesn't work anymore, and it's not a great user experience. It's been broken for a long time. What COVID has done is not change that. It's just really brought those things to the attention to the business. So this is an opportunity, and my rallying cry is CISO seize the day. You've been given the green light by the business to finally make all those changes that you've always wanted to make sure our organizations and our users are more secure. So we can really now change the economics in favor of the defender and away from the attacker in a way we've never been able to before. The third thing I've really been trying to understand and how to better use is all of those threat intel signals we receive. Microsoft sees more threat intel signals than anyone on the planet. But how do we change all those signals into proactive threat intel that is operational and strategic? Well, we're using artificial intelligence, machine learning, and other technologies to make those threat signals much more effective, and you can now use those threat intelligence to make strategic business decisions, but also very operational decisions. We're also automating and orchestrating all aspects of security to really allow the individuals in our teams to focus on the most difficult and complex security problems, but also those challenges that require human intuition and whatnot, and automating away a lot of the mundane work. So security is really not just about good password hygiene. It's also about multi-factor authentication, which I'll get to later, I'm sure. But it's also about ensuring that the business not only survives and thrives, and can respond to anything that happens. And that's really the lesson that COVID has taught us. So how do we prepare for all contingencies within IT? That's not just traditional ransomware or other attacks, but build an agile security infrastructure so that we can respond quickly. So to bring that all together, the cloud is really the catalyst for change that is enabling us. And I see that in my role every day working with customers. It is allowing us to be more empathetic and responsive to users in real time. We can make changes to make their lives, their work experience better in real time. It's also enabling the move to zero trust, and that journey to zero trust that we've been talking about for decades. We're finally seeing that happen, and it's the cloud that has finally been the catalyst to enable that. We're providing vast amounts of threat intel and in a very digestible means that people are able to use to really build better security programs. And it's empowering us to build resilience into our business in a way that's never done before. So what I'm going to take out of Ignite is, how do I learn more, and where do I want to focus my time? So I wanted to give you some advice on the sessions that I'm going to be looking at and why. So the first one is saving money by securing access to your apps. Everyone wants to save money in business, but it's really the apps that really matter to users. That's their experience. That's where they spend their day and time. So if we can not only make sure we secure those applications, but make an excellent user experience, we have a better chance of building a successful security program. The second one I would recommend is called Playing Chess on a Trampoline. I really looked at it first because of the name, but as I drilled into what they'll be talking about, managing devices and apps in the new world will be really key. And BYOD has never been more important and never been more challenging. So finding out how to better manage those devices in the future will be really key. And then I have a lot of conversations in my role about what's the modern SOC look like, and I get asked, where is the SOC going, and how do we evolve and change? So anything around protecting corporate resources and the modernized SOC is of great interest to me, and we have a number of sessions that will come up that you may want to have a look at. Two areas that are really near and dear to my heart, though, are understanding your security posture and understanding that baseline, and then also creating a security culture. So I'd like to just give you some ideas about what you can do after Ignite and you can check out. The first thing you really need to do in order to build a successful security program is to understand your security posture. You need to know where you are, and it's even more difficult now with all the things happening in the world, all of the diversification of users and what they're using in the world. So we look at three areas where we can help you. One is our zero trust assessment, where you can get an idea and a snapshot of where you are on the maturity model in your journey to zero trust. And then more operational, the Microsoft Secure Score and the Azure Secure Score to give you really a snapshot of where you are with your Microsoft 365 suite and also your Azure infrastructure on the back end. These are great assessments that can be used to see where you are, what controls you could put in place, what additional gaps you haven't considered and whatnot. And taking a snapshot now and on a regular basis will help you not only make incremental changes, but also really map out those big changes you want to make to your security program. And then with creating a security culture, I think empowering your defenders is probably the key to success of any security program. And your defenders are not just your security team. It's not just the folks sitting in the SOC. Everyone in the organization is a defender of that organization, from the server room to the boardroom, and building that culture of education, continual learning, of thinking about ensuring the safety and resilience of the business needs to be built into not only IT, but also into every business process. Tone from the top really matters. If the board and the CEO and the executive team don't feel that security is essential, then we can't expect the frontline workers to as well. So tone from the top is really key. And then we need to provide interactive training, though, for those defenders. We can't just leave them on their own. And Microsoft is investing heavily in making sure that we build partnerships that can provide you the training and expertise you need to handle these next generation threats as well. So finally, what is Microsoft doing to support you? Well, we've got lots of programs available for when you take those snapshots and you get your baseline, you have a feeling of what you want to do next, but maybe you've done the training and you're just not sure how to map out that roadmap. Well, that's where Microsoft Fast Track and other programs can come in and assist you on those journeys, either operationally or strategically. So if you don't know all the programs available, please ask. And part of that is joining our community. You know, we are all stronger together and we can secure our environments much better when we work together. The bad guys certainly do. They share intel and they share best practices. We as defenders can do a much better job by doing the same thing as well. So please join our community, contribute your expertise, help find better solutions to secure our environments, and that will make all of us safer. So with that, I'm very pleased to turn things over to Emma, who will drill in to some of the awesome things we are doing across Canada to improve skilling and access to technical training as well. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Kevin. You know, throughout Ignite, even this session, we're hearing about Microsoft great technology solutions. But ultimately, people like you are the difference makers. And that's why skilling is so critical. In fact, it was great to hear from my peers and have them share great assets that we have that are there and available for you, whether it be community driven or structured. You know, whether you're an employer, an employee, a job seeker, or a student, ultimately, we have a great set of skilling initiatives from Microsoft, LinkedIn, and GitHub to really help empower your digital skills for tomorrow. You know, this next slide really presents clearly what the challenges are that we're facing today. The challenge of scarce resourcing and building the new skills to keep up with this tech innovation for both today and tomorrow. In fact, according to the Information and Communication Technology Council, ICTC, there are going to be over 200,000 tech jobs that go unfilled in Canada alone this year. We are absolutely witnessing a tech intensity like never before, and I truly believe we need to get after this gap in skills today, or we run the risk of Canada falling behind the rest of the world. In fact, this same study reveals that the challenge is just going to continue. In fact, it shows here that 19% of current employee skills will be irrelevant, and that new jobs that are being created are just going to continue to fuel the demand for digitally talented skills, actually citing a record 305,000 roles by 2023. And at Microsoft, we believe that we have to be part of the solution. And it's our responsibility to help businesses, institutions in academia, government, and individuals to get the skills that they need. That includes arming them with great technology solutions that you're going to be hearing about at Ignite, but equally partnering and pairing that with great skilling programs to help you in a tech-intense world. So let's get started and talk a little bit about what Microsoft is actually doing. We have a comprehensive framework with the goal of providing skills development through a digitally enhanced training and certification experience that suits all learning journeys, all walks of life, and really it doesn't matter what career stage you're in today. So regardless of who you are and where you are in your life learning journey, there's going to be something in this session for you. So let's take a little bit of a further double click into what Microsoft specifically doing to advance the digital skills here in the Canadian marketplace. I want to start first with the employers and employees, really kind of fine tune some of the things that we have available for today's workforce. We have made a significant investment in a self-paced learning platform called Microsoft Learn, and it's available to everyone. In fact, we even use it here at Microsoft for our own employee advancement and tech intensity. Second, we're adding a fun dimension to learning. By Microsoft Learnathon, we have really gamified learning aligned to 7 different certification types. Each learner that completes a full challenge will receive a discounted Microsoft certification voucher and a raffle to potentially win one of those great devices that Jason talked about earlier, our Surface Books. Now, to build upon this, we also have invested in bringing you advanced instructor-led training and exam preparations through Microsoft Virtual Training Days. And lastly, in the bottom, you'll see that we have some cases opportunities for certain organizations to extend this even further with dedicated technical enrollment classes. We deliver these globally through different time zones in 10+ languages today. Now let's take a look a little bit at what we're doing on the next generation workforce, our students. We specifically aligned resources here for skilling, for those students at Microsoft Learn for Students. They receive curated learning paths, experiences, and programs to really help them succeed. But to maximize these efforts, we really knew we had to partner here in Canada to really amplify the impact and scale. So last week, we launched the Canada Skills Program with 12 post-secondary institutions, with the aim of bolstering data and AI skills and employability outcomes for over 4,500 students in Canada. What's great about this is upon graduating, the students will receive Microsoft certifications as well as institution credentials. And this is just the first phase of this program, and we're going to be committed to continue to expand this to other institutions and governments from coast to coast with the aid of helping reach all students across Canada who are interested. Now, undoubtedly, a very important sector of the market that we have to focus on is job seekers, especially in light of this economic situation that we find ourselves in. Microsoft, LinkedIn, and GitHub are really pairing our best of resources together to drive an inclusive economic recovery with the goal of impacting over 25 million people alone in 2020 around the globe. You know, what makes these a unique opportunity is that we partner together and bring data and labor market insights together to help really inform us about the problems and opportunities that exist. And this helps us take a much more targeted approach to how we help job seekers. We use this data to inform the types of resources we bring to bear. So whether you're looking for free access to learning content, you're looking for reduced cost exams for Microsoft certifications, or quite frankly, just tools to help job seekers get employed, Microsoft, LinkedIn, and GitHub come together to best support you. But once again, it's all about partnerships to extend this effort to truly make an impact in Canada. And that's why in Canada, we've partnered with nonprofit organizations like Empower Canada and ICTC to really help us reach the most individuals that are in need and ensure we support their employment and skilling outcomes and efforts. This extended partnership enables us to bring key workforce development services forward to really help as many job seekers as possible to be successful. Look, we know we cannot do this alone, and we're going to continue to partner with private institutions, public sector, nonprofits, NGOs, governments, and academic institutions to close that skills gap in Canada and continue to drive an inclusive economic recovery for Canadians. So we've talked a lot about many of these things throughout the slides, but I thought this was a great way to kind of come back and solidify that comprehensive framework that we have available. This slide shows you the skilling, and I've talked to you a little bit about the partnerships on how we're going to kind of come together to really truly get at this tech intensity that we need to build. So hopefully, regardless of who you are and where you are in your learning journey, there's something here for you. So we invite you now to take advantage of these incredible programs and offers and join us, Microsoft, LinkedIn, and GitHub, in really helping change the way and reimagine the way people can learn and ultimately help us thrive in Canada in this digital economy. Back over to you, Kevin.
Thanks so much, Emma. That's absolutely outstanding. Fantastic. I love it. For those people who have joined us this afternoon, for each of you, now you understand why it's so awesome to work at Microsoft, given the incredible talent we have here to support each of you as customers. So that was a lot of information. It was packed into a short period of time. And I'm sure you have some follow-up questions for our speakers. Really appreciate you dropping them into the river, and that's fantastic. So I'll invite back Jason Bromett, Kevin McGee, and of course Emma De Silva. We'll get them back. Guys, to kick things off, I wanted to go back to security because it really is top of mind for everyone. And Kevin, as we think about the increase in incidents of cybersecurity during these times of remote and hybrid working, just narrow it down for us. What are your top 2 to 3 tips that the audience should take away as immediate go-dos?
My first reaction is always multi-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication. But I figured you're looking for something a little more in depth there. So I think what I've really learned the last couple months is if you want security to succeed, you need to begin with understanding the user's needs and making the user part of the experience, because creating a great experience for users will allow you to expand your security program and make sure that they don't go around it or try and sidestep it or introduce their own tools. So making the user the center of the experience, and we haven't always done that in the past. A second would be that the cloud is really the catalyst for innovation. And I see some organizations trying to lift and shift what they've done in the past to the cloud. It's a totally new medium. It's a chance to innovate and find new ways to do things you've done. Take full advantage of the cloud to do new and exciting things, not just sort of recreate your on-prem environment. And then last is just put together an awesome team. It's really about, bringing together sort of the executives, the employees, the user, but also great partners. And let us be a partner and help you as an organization figure out how to address your needs and our larger ecosystem that we can bring to bear to address those as well too.
Fantastic. I love that, Kevin. Really excellent messages. And just before we go to the questions in the river, Jay, it's really as top of mind for team members, and I just spoke at a national conference of HR leaders earlier this morning. As you know, we at Microsoft have moved towards a hybrid work model where essentially employees who need to be in the office and when it's safe to do so, they can come in, but others can remain working remotely. What challenges do you think these kind of new operational models create for IT teams, and what have we put in place to drive the most inclusive, productive workplaces possible?
Yeah, so I think great question, Kevin. I think building maybe a little bit off of Kevin McGee's statements, with security. I think one of the biggest observations.
I thought that was MFA.
So I'll take it to a higher level. Kevin was a little more, but I think what's truly amazing, which is we can't underestimate the change that our customers and ourselves, frankly, have had to go through at a very, very rapid speed. And I think in some cases that did come at a compromise. And so I think there is a great moment for all of us right now to pause, frankly, reflect in many ways. Fast Track is a great resource for customers who aren't. I was on a call late last night with a customer exactly in the scenario where they had to move so fast, and now they've got a bunch of areas that they're super concerned with. And so we've been able to kind of lean back in. But this chance to kind of pause and reflect, which is, hey, do I feel like I've got the security policies in place that are going to protect my people, my data, and my assets as we continue to work in this hybrid environment? I think that I'll call it the management and I'll call it autopilot side of it and sort of the distribution, which is as the economy returns, we're already seeing, which is companies are hiring back up. And so how do you do remote onboarding in an exceptionally strong way, not only from a tools and a technology point of view, but from a people and a process point of view? And so the idea of being able to use bots as an example inside teams, the ability to pin applications that pushes all of the information that individual users may need is another great area to kind of go innovate, to say, hey, how do I go create an awesome employee experience? And then I think the last one, which is just culture, which is the human side of this. Again, to the research that I've quickly been trying to answer some Q&A on, we know people are tiring sitting in front of a screen all day. And so how you create that mindfulness, how you create that space. I know we've kind of had our challenges across the extended leadership team on Fitbits here and watches here and all the rest of it to say, hey, who's walking how many steps? But that part cannot be understated, which is just the human side of it. We all got to take breaks because the lines are blurring. And in many cases, there is actually some fun data in the report that I'll let everybody go find around the lack of a commute and the inability to have that downtime to start your day, to frame your thinking, but also the downtime at the end of the day to clean up your thinking. And we're actually now building some capabilities directly into Teams to enable you to go do that and block that thinking time. And so just a couple of thoughts, and certainly the way that we've thought about it as Microsoft.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Jason. And I know that executives across the board are really trying to discern how can they keep their people as productive as possible, as safe and healthy as possible through this really difficult time. So appreciate that. Hey, Lisa, do we have questions from the river?
Yeah, we sure do, Kevin.
Okay.
There's one from someone that says, how do you see the demand for IT professionals outside Canada? I'm a certified Microsoft Solutions Architect willing to relocate to Canada. And although there are many open positions, I could not have had the opportunity until now.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think there's two aspects of that, and then Emma, if you want to pipe in as well. The first one is, just as a Canadian, I'm of the full view that we have a really large country with lots of opportunities in it, and we need more super smart people to help us grow and be globally competitive. So welcome to Canada in that sense. The second component is when it comes to the whole visa process of coming into Canada, our government has put a little bit of things on hold due to COVID, but don't lose heart. There'll be more opportunities moving forward. The third is at Microsoft, I know we've hosted and hired a number of individuals who are new Canadians, brand new to this country, coming with really incredible skills from all over the planet. And so I'd encourage you to continue to reach out to firms such as ourselves in that regard. Emma, any thoughts from yourself?
Well, no, the only thing I would add is we talked about some of those universal platforms like LinkedIn and GitHub, and those are great opportunities for you to kind of, put yourself out there in terms of the certifications you have, but equally look for great opportunities. And lastly, that many of the things that I talked about are global offers that we have available. So hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of those regardless of the country you're in.
Very good. Lisa, do we have another one?
Yeah, we do. Robin asked, what is the top three uniquely Canadian technology industry pandemic challenges that Microsoft Canada sees here in this great country?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a brilliant question. I'll take a quick stab at it, and then I'll go to my peers, whoever would like to come in. The top three, I don't know if I've got them in actual quantitative order in terms of most critical for the country. The first one clearly is just in the availability and sharing of data. And when we look at some of the work we're doing with government, it is to be in a position at a not just a provincial level, but at a federal level to understand what is the reality of the data. And then to make, as a connective tissue, the reality of the data back into decision making. And we're working with Health Canada as an example to track and support those people who are coming into Canada, Canadians returning from abroad, and manage to ensure that there isn't a breakout of the pandemic from that activity and support folks in that sense. So that's a first one for me. Any of my colleagues have a thought on that?
I could just add, I worry about critical infrastructure. If we have a surge in the pandemic, how is the healthcare system going to stand up, and how are attackers or adversaries going to take advantage of that? What other aspects of critical infrastructure are now becoming, much more easy targets out there as well? The water we drink, the factories are now all really just big computers and becoming bigger targets. And 5G will really add to that complexity. So thinking about everything as a computer that needs to be secured, not just the endpoint, because those are the basis, the operating system of our civilization, and we need to really think about how to secure that as well.
Yeah, Kevin, yeah, so well said. I know that I was recently engaging with the leader of one of Canada's most influential or most impactful power utility companies, and security is absolutely top of mind. But to your point, security is extended well beyond, let's protect the network layer or let's protect the endpoint layer. It really is a connected security dialogue and discussion across the devices we see and then the devices that are in use within the tools that run organizations across this country. So it's a much richer dialogue and discussion. I will share with you that there's been an actual acceleration in the move to hyperscale cloud, because many organizations are realizing in a pandemic scenario that resources to support the data centers, the resources to support the scenarios in which they need to keep their infrastructure up and running just don't have the scalability or the support from a cybersecurity perspective that hyperscale providers such as Microsoft Azure, Office 365, M365, D365 have. So that's really cool. Hey, just on that, there's a component here around cybersecurity skills and the gap in Canada. There was a cool question, and that skill gap is in place globally. Kevin, maybe start with you and perhaps Emma, if you could build on it. What's your advice for those in the audience who recognize that their current IT teams may not have in-depth cybersecurity knowledge. What resources available? How can they grow their capabilities internally? Or for those people who want to be part of this part of the ecosystem, how do they make themselves better?
I think this is the number one thing I think about constantly is, you know, the next generation of leadership in our industry, and how do we really fill that gap? And when I talk to CISOs or CIOs, sort of the questions I ask is, you know, what's the makeup of your current team? Often they're all computer science degrees. You know, I really challenge them to think about, you know, adding diversity to their thinking on the team. Bring in a criminologist. If you're worried about ransomware, that's the best person who could give you an idea of how criminal thinks. Bring in philosophy majors, bring in history majors. I have a history degree. I'm in security. I think different points of view and perspectives will give you those different aspects of all the threats on your team. So if you have an arts degree or you don't have a computer science degree or whatnot, you know, really, I think you're the type of person that I'm interested in talking to and developing into security professionals. You don't have to be a hardcore computer science person, but if you are, the best way, you know, if you're deeply technical, to diversify your skills is to develop some of those other skills, understanding criminology, understanding communication better as well.
No, fantastic, Kevin. And you know, I think it's a great segue to the close, and I appreciate all the questions in the river. Please keep reaching out to us at Microsoft about what's top of mind. I noticed there was a question that we didn't quite get to around transcription, live transcription, and then translation. Massive announcements coming in that space, so please keep a watch out. And we obviously understand the requirement here as a multi-language country, which we're all proud of, to support French and English and make it easier for citizens to connect, but also make it easier for the literally 50, 100 different languages that operate in Canada for all of those team members to connect as well. In close, from me, a massive thank you from my entire team, from all of Team Microsoft Canada, for the work we do with you. I do feel a responsibility for all of us to enhance the capabilities of Canada as a nation. So as Emma went through skilling, the responsibility of industry, government, and academia coming together, it is a key initiative growth area for us. We want to be an active participant, and we encourage each of you with your voice to also lead the charge for Canada to increase its level of tech intensity so that we can be our very best self when we turn up in the global economy, in the global stage. From all of us at Microsoft, I hope you enjoy the rest of Ignite. Thank you so much for all of your time, and have a great week and a great rest of the 2020 calendar year. All the best, everyone. Cheers.